Looming tax changes and increases. What will this mean for your monthly bills? And how will support packages for households and businesses help?
It is a first step in renewing and strengthening our social compact for a post-pandemic world.
Unpacking Budget 2022 as Singapore charts a new way forward, together. There's relief for families facing rising utility bills and food prices, and a looming increase in the goods and services tax.
We had earlier announced a $6 billion assurance package to cushion the impact of the GST increase for all Singaporeans. I will provide an additional top-up of $640 million to the assurance package. For households, I will introduce a household support package of $560 million to help Singaporeans with their utility bills, children's education, and daily essentials.
Not that the government are not giving subsidies. They have given it to different households depending on the level of needs and vulnerability they are in.
Nurazlan and Hanafi and their 2 children live in a rental flat. They have a combined income of $2,600.
They don't have to be too overly concerned about the rate increase. Although the GST rate increase only takes effect from 2023, the GST vouchers and rebates actually kicks in from 2022. So in 2022, you can see that the total GST that will be incurred will be about $1,770, but the GST offset package is about $1,865. The package offsets the entire GST amount. The parent who's a security guard will benefit from the progressive wage model, as the minimum wage for security guards will increase from $1,004 to $1,650 in 2023.
The family tries hard to keep their monthly bills to about $500. A large portion, about $220, goes to utilities.
Every week we will have to go to the supermarket to get all the wet groceries, dry groceries. The rent will be $44. Food, we will try to keep it below $150.
I would like to save for emergency if anything that happens in coming days, so we can use that savings. Usually I will put like around 100 to 200.
Ambika is 60 years old. She lives in a 1-room flat which she owns and receives $480 from the social service office.
The package will enable them to fully offset the GST incidence, and in fact also provides for additional spending power. In year 2021, the GST is estimated to be about $400, but in terms of the GST offset, she's getting about $700.
A double amputee and diabetic, Ambika's medical problems began with a stroke more than 25 years ago. She goes for dialysis 3 times a week and her medical needs are covered. But she does have to cope with rising food costs.
Last time, for marketing and food, I spent $200. And now, the marketing and food, I spend about $300. Sometimes I got food rations, canned food, biscuits, and then Maggi, oil. That's enough for me to manage her.
And she believes in being as independent as she can.
I do it myself, I cook myself. Even I go to market myself.
Low-income group itself represents about 20% of our society here in terms of population. Middle-income groups, they are not so vulnerable. They have a choice.
This 3-generation family lives in a maisonette. It's a household with 1 child and 5 adults, including a helper. 3 members of the family work. One concern, their utility bills.
The utility rebates has a definite time frame, and the amount actually is a very, very small bit.
I'm not the paymaster for that, my husband is. And he has been complaining to me, can you cut down on the water bill? Can you cut down on the electrical bill?
She's also looking at ways to reduce her grocery bills.
You just have to manage, maybe instead of having more fishes of certain type, I get the cheaper fish. Oh, okay, maybe I'll just buy things on offer.
But her daughter feels there's value in the pending GST rise.
If this 2% can help with the economy, which in return, I will get a better salary increase or I will get a better economy going as a salesperson, I'm all for it.
This budget also sets out a rise in personal income tax for the highest earners.
The increase in personal income tax rates will only impact 1.2% of the taxpayers. It's about 23,000 taxpayers, the ultra-rich high earners. So we do not expect this increase to impact Singapore's standing as a great place to do business.
Property taxes will also go up.
It should be noted that property tax and personal tax are not mutually exclusive. The increase in the property tax rate, which represents a mere 7% of all owner-occupied residential. The property tax rate on non-owner-occupied residential properties are notably higher. The residential property owner will also be subject to tax on rental income. There's also a risk that landlords may attempt to pass on this additional cost to the renters.
Also rising, taxes for luxury cars.
These tax adjustments will help to raise additional revenue and also contribute to a fairer revenue structure. And that means everyone chips in and contributes to a vibrant economy and strengthened social compact. But those with greater means contribute a larger share.
High-tech cleaning, deep-tech food, tackling innovation and training. How this budget will help SMEs. The $500 million jobs and business support package in this year's budget offers a lifeline to sectors most affected by COVID-19, such as food and beverage, retail, tourism, and hospitality. Firms looking to innovate can also tap into the budget's research and development support and the expanded Productivity Solutions Grant. It aims to support more than 100,000 productivity projects over the next 4 years.
I think with more collaborations with centers of technology and innovation centers in polytechnics and ITE, there will definitely be more products, new R&D materials, new SKUs that will be coming out from Speco's office as well. So I'm really very excited about it.
Speco is a social enterprise that began as a housekeeping and cleaning service firm in 2017. It has since transitioned into high-tech disinfection services using a special chemical and equipment to support staff.
So what you see behind me is ACE. ACE is the short form for Antiviral Coating Expert. So what it does is that it utilizes a cold fogging technology. In the past, when my workers used to conduct disinfection work, they are able to cover a place within 4 hours. SpecoBot ACE will be able to cover that space, 20,000 square feet of it, within a single man-hour.
Training is crucial in the productivity convergence between man and machine, as Speco eyes other regional markets.
We are trying to push our workers to be able to upskill themselves in order to earn a wage about 50% higher than the progressive wage model. So we're trying to push them above the $2,000 mark. Over the course of 3 years, they started using things like cloud technology. They started improving their skills to be able to use robotics, to be able to use quality assurance equipment as well.
Budget 2022 will continue to invest in people, with special attention on mid-career workers in their 40s and 50s.
They are more vulnerable to churn and disruptions in the workplace, but they have valuable experience to contribute, and with some help, many are able to learn, adapt, and do well in new jobs.
Mr. Manokaran was in his late 50s when he needed to make a career change.
Well, I used to be an events manager. It was during the COVID situation that things was not stable.
His new job needed digital marketing skills, which he didn't have. His employer suggested on-the-job training and coursework under the career conversion program.
Initially, I was apprehensive because I didn't know much about UI, UX and all those digital marketing. Well, I had a lot of difficulties. The instructors and the students there helped me to coach me also in a way to show me how to do and what to do and all that.
For mid-career workers, the government has set up 3 pathways for retraining to switch careers: place and train, attach and train, and train in place.
We cannot expect to have the first maybe 16 years of life in the educational system and then leaving the education system and then work for 1 or 2 jobs or 1 or 2 companies. We would be expecting to leave school and probably would have 8 to 10 jobs or maybe more.
For pest management services firm Pest Busters, cloud technology and artificial intelligence are the way forward post-COVID.
As for the bridging loan, yes, we have already taken one for AI, and we will look at other schemes, what we want to move forward, and we want to make use of this bridging loan for sure.
Pest Busters has invested around $350,000 to improve its pest control and surveillance system. But the firm had to rely on the government's job support scheme to stay afloat, as revenue dipped while business costs rose during the pandemic.
Logistic, chemicals, everything that we purchase has gone up tremendously. I've taken a 50% pay cut. Some of them take up to 25% pay cut. We are fortunate that our people were trained to do disinfectant during the SARS, and the hotels support us.
For now, the delay in the increase of goods and services tax to next year is a welcome reprieve.
I think the minister did see the needs for the SMEs to adapt. They are trying to see how they are trying to help the SMEs. Deferring all this makes sense, and it is a big relief for me as far as I'm concerned. It will give us some time to adjust.
So it was interesting that they have decided to stagger the rate, from 7 to 8% in 2023 and then 8 to 9% in 2024. Right? I suppose if you look at it, the government had heard the concerns of the Singaporeans and businesses.
To help firms prepare for the GST hike, small and medium-sized enterprises can tap into the $40 million fund under the Productivity Solutions Grant for subsidized accounting and point-of-sale solutions.
They can also look at it as an opportunity for them to transform. So having grants to help them improve on their automation, improve on their processes, will certainly help them, both in terms of the rate hike and also in improving their GST compliance.
If this hike will help Singapore SMEs expand, this 2% will then bring in businesses that will help us grow 2 times or 5 times or 10 times more, then I think this is a small part that we have to play in nation building as well.
This food tech company is also hoping to tap on the Productivity Solutions Grant. Its product is so unique, it needs customized equipment.
We are working something out to make sure that we can get some of the government support for our new equipment as well. Yeah. On top of that, I think there are many measures in place to digitalize our operations as well as our processes, and I think that will help in making our processes more streamlined, and more efficient.
Sinfotech makes soy whey, a product that's usually discarded into wine.
I came across the idea through one of my friends. He was doing a PhD program at the NUS Food Sciences program. And when he shared with me the idea of food valorization, I was so amazed. And I immediately started Sinfotech in hopes of creating products that could upcycle and use sustainable technologies to produce sustainable products.
It took about 5 years to move from a lab experiment to a commercial product.
We had to go through regulatory works to make sure that our products are safe for consumption. Our next step is actually to create more technologies for food waste valorization. So we're working with other materials and other companies as well to upcycle their food waste.
Overall, experts say this year's budget offers ample support for businesses to power up for opportunities post-COVID.
It's like a booster shot, So the help is there to help businesses do their business transformation, to help them with their adoption of a digital solution. With the IT, with the automation, is pretty sufficient, but it's a matter of how businesses, actually adapt them that matters the most.
Keeping track of your carbon footprint as Singapore looks at reaching net zero faster. The opportunities and costs for businesses and consumers. Decarbonization strategies and technology are in the spotlight, with the rise coming for carbon tax as Singapore aims to bring forward the net zero target.
To move decisively to achieve our new net zero ambition, we will need a higher carbon tax.
The tax will be progressively increased, $50 to $80 per tonne of emissions by 2030, as the net zero target moves to around the mid-century mark. The plan will affect businesses and trickle down to utility bills for households.
At $25 per tonne, this would translate to an increase of about $4 per month in the utility bills for an average 4-room HDB household.
Balancing greenhouse gas emissions produced with those taken out of the atmosphere, net zero is the point at which global warming stops. The 2015 Paris Agreement commits countries to limit the rise in global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius and to aim for 1.5 degrees Celsius. So is this rise in carbon tax enough to contribute to that goal?
When we look at the global recommendations, the developed economies should have a carbon tax of close to $75 by 2030. And when we look back at our pricing of 50 to 80 Singapore dollars, it's definitely in the right direction to help achieve our net zero commitment by around 2050 as announced in this year's budget. It roughly covers close to 80% of Singapore's national emission.
The tax mainly affects petrochemical, oil and gas, power and semiconductor companies with more than 25,000 tons of emissions every year.
When you look at 25,000, it means it's roughly equal to 14,000 4-room HDB units in terms of the emission emitted by these units for the entire year. So by 2024, we would be looking at close to an increase of 2 to 2.5% of prices in electricity coming from fossil fuel-based generation. Now, for companies who will continue to rely on fossil fuel-based electricity even by 2030, we are looking at an increase of 8 to 12% of prices. We will see companies proactively developing their decarbonization plan and strategy to reduce the impact of carbon pricing in the long term. They would look into the kind of technologies they could deploy to reduce emission, the kind of research and development R&D is required, and the capabilities that they have in-house. Number 3 would be the demand of carbon credits, which is now being allowed as one of the instruments to pay carbon tax. What we hope to see is to have an ecosystem that will be developed in Singapore to help facilitate companies' transition to a low-carbon economy.
One company venturing into renewable energy is hoping for more demand for its products and services.
For the renewable energy space, I guess is great news because the carbon taxes increases operating expenditure for businesses, which will then sort of softly push them towards adopting renewable energy.
Lam Hong Renewables is the sustainability arm of the Lam Hong Group, which supplies equipment to the marine and offshore industry.
We deal with LED and air conditioning, energy efficiency monitoring systems, electronic vehicle charging. Last but not least, our forte in solar photovoltaic installations.
Company generates all the energy it needs from its 60,000 square feet premises for day-to-day operations and exports the rest. And it's hoping to do the same for its clients.
We help design, we help procure and construct these panels for warehouses, offices, and on the other end, we develop it on our cost. What that means for end users would be at zero capital expenditure, so long as they have an available roof space. The entire responsibility for installing and the entire cost setup will be borne by Lam Hong Renewables, of which the benefits will be shared by both parties.
Lam Hong Renewables is also looking at ways to grow its green business.
Green loans and green financing could be very, very clearly given out and following a set of standardized criteria.
Experts say Singapore's move to issue green bonds to fund infrastructure projects could serve as an impetus for businesses to hop on the green wagon. By 2030, about $35 billion of green bonds will be issued to fund public sector green projects.
We've seen over the past couple of years a significant growth in startups and SMEs who are pure play green companies. They're coming to drive the change. We see a renewed effort in the circular economy, in recycling, in repurposing of batteries, for example, in management of food waste. We see a lot of innovation with data analytics, with AI and IoT to help, with the measurement and the optimization of energy solutions. You also see the shift towards alternate proteins and sustainable farming.
There are ways to keep track and reduce your own carbon footprint. You might spend about $100 a month on electricity, 90 minutes a day traveling on the bus, shop for essentials. And that's your carbon footprint. And if you were to make just one flight to Europe, the number goes up again. The goal? 3,000 kilograms to avoid a 2 degrees Celsius rise in global temperatures by 2050. The finance minister says this budget is about renewing Singapore's social compact and looking ahead.
We will chart a new way forward together. We will see through the pandemic today and build a better Singapore tomorrow.